Chapter 1, Return to the Motherland. Ianai's eyes gazed out the plane window as the Nigerian landscape unfolded below. The patchwork of green forests, brown savannas, and glinting waterways seemed to stretch on forever. He felt a mix of emotions, excitement, nervousness, and a hint of trepidation. Years had passed since Ianai left Nigeria, seeking greener pastures abroad. Now, he was returning to a country that had changed much since his departure. The familiar sights and sounds of his childhood still lingered in his memory, but he wondered what new realities awaited him. As the plane touched down at Port Harcourt International Airport, Ianai's heart swelled with a sense of homecoming. He collected his luggage and made his way through customs, the humid air enveloping him like a warm embrace. Outside, the cacophony of car horns, chatter, and laughter assaulted his senses. Ianai smiled, feeling the vibrant energy of Nigeria coursing through his veins once more. He hailed a taxi and headed to his family's ancestral home in the Niger Delta. The journey took him through bustling streets, past markets and mosques, and into the heart of the Delta's lush wetlands. Ianai marveled at the sights, sounds, and smells of his childhood. Yet, he couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. As he approached his family's compound, Ianai noticed changes. The once lush gardens were now overgrown, and the paint had faded from the walls. His heart sank, sensing that his family's fortunes had declined in his absence. Stepping out of the taxi, Ianai was enveloped in a warm embrace by his aged mother, who had traveled from their village to welcome him home. Tears of joy streaming down her face, she exclaimed, "My son, you have returned. The land has been waiting for you." Ianai's heart swelled with emotion as he greeted his mother, his mind racing with questions about the state of their land, their people, and their future. Little did he know that his return would set in motion a chain of events that would change the course of his life forever. As Ianai hugged his mother tightly, he felt a mix of emotions, joy, relief, and a hint of guilt for staying away so long. His mother's frail body and graying hair reminded him of the passing of time and the sacrifice.
"I'm home," Ini whispered, his voice choked with emotion. His mother pulled back, her eyes shining with tears. "My son, you have returned. I have prayed for this day." Ini's gaze wandered to the compound, taking in the changes. The once vibrant gardens were overgrown and the paint had faded from the walls. The rusty gate creaked in the gentle breeze, a stark contrast to the warm welcome he received. "Mother, what happened?" Ini asked, concern etched on his face. His mother's expression turned somber. "The oil company came and everything changed. They promised jobs and prosperity, but they brought only suffering and destruction." Ini's heart sank, sensing the depth of his family's struggles. He had heard stories of the oil company's exploitation, but he had never imagined it would affect his own family so directly. As they walked towards the house, Ini noticed the silence. The compound, once filled with laughter and chatter, was now eerily quiet. The only sound was the creaking of the old wooden house, which seemed to groan under the weight of memories. Inside, the house was dimly lit, the windows covered with old curtains. Ini's mother led him to the living room, where his father's old armchair sat, now empty and still. Ini felt a pang of sadness, remembering his father's warm smile and stories of the land. "Father?" Ini asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His mother's eyes dropped, and she shook her head. "He passed away, Ini. The oil company's pollution took his life." Ini's world spun around him. He had not expected this. His father, the strong and proud man who had taught him about their land and culture, was gone. As the reality sank in, Ini knew that his return was not just about reuniting with his family, but also about reclaiming their land, their culture, and their future. The journey ahead would be long and difficult, but Ini was determined to make a difference. Ini's mother, Omini, led him to the backyard where a small garden once flourished. Now, it was a shadow of its former self, with withered plants and a rusty water pump. Ini remembered helping his father tend to this garden, learning about the medicinal properties of the plants and the importance of living in harmony with nature. Omini noticed Ini's gaze and sighed. "We couldn't maintain it, Ini. The oil company's activities polluted our water source and the soil became too toxic for plants to grow." Ini's heart ached as he surveyed the damage. His family's connection to the land was deep-rooted, and seeing the destruction was like witnessing a part of their identity being erased. As they walked towards the village, Eni saw more signs of neglect and decay. The once thriving market was now a sparse gathering of vendors, and the community center was overgrown with weeds. The air was thick, people with the smell of oil and smoke, a constant reminder of the industry's presence. Omini pointed to a group of young men sitting idle by the roadside.
It was overgrown with weeds. The air was thick with the smell of oil and smoke, a constant reminder of the industry's presence. Ominai pointed to a group of young men sitting idle by the roadside. They used to work in the gardens, but now they have no jobs. The oil company promised employment, but it was a lie. Ienai felt a surge of anger and frustration. He had heard stories of the oil company's broken promises and exploitation, but seeing it firsthand was devastating. As they approached their village, Ienai noticed a strange, pungent smell. Ominai followed his gaze to a nearby pipeline which had ruptured, spilling oil into the surrounding soil. "That's the third spill this year," Ominai said, her voice laced with resignation. "The company doesn't care. They just want to extract the oil and leave us to deal with the consequences." Ienai's determination grew. He knew he had to do something to help his community, to fight against the injustices they faced. He thought of his father's words, "The land is our lifeblood. We must protect it at all costs." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the devastated landscape, Ienai knew that his return was not just a homecoming, but a call to action. He was ready to join the fight for his people's rights, for their land, and for their future.